All right, so here we are. Hello, hello, and welcome to Lady Jane's Salon for our August Salon. We cannot wait to be back with you in person, but until then, we are here virtually. My name is Leanna Renee Hieber. I'm one of the co-founders, and I'm thrilled that you're here with us virtually. I'm going to turn this over to my co-founder, Hope Tarr, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about what we do and why.
Hi, everyone. We're so pleased that you can join us. This is our third virtual salon since everything sort of got crazy pants back in March. And we're so thrilled to kind of continue to bring this experience to you, bring amazing writers to you. And as Leanna will tell you more about later, we will be live tweeting this on August the 3rd at 7 p.m., which is our normal time to meet at our beloved Madam X. Why do we do this? Well, we really started back in 2009 with the idea to share the love, not just the love of a good romance novel, a good read, but really to share the zeitgeist of that with our local community. And of course, we're based in New York City, and our local community is served very, very well by a wonderful organization called Women in Need. Women in Need was founded in 1983 on Valentine's Day, February 14th, so I think it was a meant to be. It's been our house charity for 11 years and counting, and we will continue to support them. We also continue to support our wonderful host venue, Madam X, 94 West Houston Street. They have been a beloved partner in this endeavor since the very, very beginning. We very much miss them. We miss Alex. We miss Karen. We miss the owner, Amy, in our naughty red room. At the end of today's program, Leanna will tell you a little bit more about the ongoing fundraiser to help the staff of Madam X. As all of us know, bar and restaurant staff are particularly hard hit by the COVID-19 shutdowns of dining establishments and bars and whatnot. And while New York is just starting to kind of get back on its feet, I think we're entering phase 4 on Monday, still everything is at limited capacity. And so we would really like to continue to be a voice to support them as well. So I am going to, without further ado, introduce our very first reader, Angelina Lopez. My beloved Angelina, I like to think. Angelina and I go back a long, long way, 20 plus years from our Washington, D.C. days. We first met at a writers conference. I think it was the Washington Sheridan in Woodley Park.
That's right.
And very, very dear to me ever since. And she has been, like many of us, a writer all of her life, albeit in different ways. She has a background in journalism. She was a journalist for a prestigious city paper. She has done groundbreaking magazine work. And now she's pursuing, I think, her premier passion, which of course is writing the books of her heart, the romance novels of her heart. Her first book was Lush Money, which is a wonderful title. That was followed by Hate Crush. And today she's going to be reading from, oh my gosh, it's Sinning. Thank you so much. Serving Sin, which is a wonderful title. And Angelina, you can tell us a little bit about when that book actually drops and how we can get it and get busy reading it as a little bit of an intro to your reading. But without further ado, Angelina.
Thank you so much. And actually, I will be reading from Hate Crush today because Serving Sin is still in its first draft. So this is the second book in the Filthy Rich series. This third book will be spring sometime next year. So I would love to read it to you from it, but I don't really know what the words are yet. So we're still getting there, but thank you so much. Hope was the first romance novelist I ever met, and I've been a lifelong fan. And Hope and a couple of other WRW members, I met them just as green as I could possibly be at this DC RWA convention. And they just took me under the wing and they said, meet all these writers and get to know all these people. And they immediately started me in what I became to understand as the romance community, which was giving and loving and supportive. And so when I came out with my debut last year, Hope and I met 20 years ago, and my debut came out last year. So it gives a little bit of context for my journey. But when I had the debut come out, Hope had asked me, and Lady Jane Salon had asked me to read. And so it was just such an amazing moment. This is almost exactly a year from when I got to read, a year-ish from when I got to read for my debut book. So even though this isn't you know, ideally what we all wish we were doing, but it's really, really wonderful to be back. I get to read from my second book, Hate Crush, which is they're all standalone, but it's next in this series of the Filthy Rich series. They're about powerful, wealthy women who get what they want because they've earned it. So anyway, so Hate Crush is about our hero, Ace Salinger, and our heroine, Princess Sophia. So our hero, Ace Salinger, is a down on his luck, but still famous and gorgeous rock star. And our heroine, Princesa Sofia de Esperanza y Santos, she's a millionaire winemaking princess whose new winery, a winery she hopes will improve the fortunes of her kingdom, can't get any attention. A fake relationship between them would draw the world's gaze to her winery and solve Aisha's image problems. There's just one catch. She hates him. He broke her heart 10 years ago when they were kids during a California harvest season. He regrets breaking her heart. She regrets ever giving it to him. He's sworn to get her back, and she's sworn never to fall in love again. So after this big public reception at her winery in Spain, the first time they've seen each other in 10 years, they have a quiet moment where they can let their true emotions show. Sophia is with her best friend, Henry. He's her sister-in-law's supersized bodyguard, and Ace is with his manager. So the instant Sophia was inside the winery's processing facility, a high-ceilinged, concrete-floored room full of large tanks and equipment, and the home of Sophia's glassed-in office, she dropped Aisha's arm. She embraced the dim and the cool as she moved away from him and into the protective shelter of Henry's hulking shadow. "How you holding up?" he asked. Henry was way more Texan than her brother, blonde and burly, who looked like the kind of American she might have mistrusted before he opened his mouth. Within minutes of their first conversation, she discovered that below his thick neck was a big, squishy heart. He protected Roxanne, and now Roxanne's family, with his life. He was one of the dearest friends Sophia ever had. "Está bien," she said, rubbing her forehead. "I'm fine." "Sophia?" Aisha's voice echoed through the empty warehouse. She ignored him. "No, you're not," Henry said, squeezing her shoulder, forcing her to look up into his quarterback pretty face. "But you did good out there. You pulled it off." Sophia let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. She covered Henry's big hand with her own. "Gracias," she murmured. Sophia," Ace called again, louder this time. A spark of anger tried to catch in her chest. She breathed in the cool. Henry's slate blue eyes looked into hers. "You know," he whispered, "at some point you're going to have to for real talk to him." "Talk to who?" she said without smiling. "Now, has all the security been set up for thee?" "Sophia!" Aisha's voice rang off the steel fermenting tanks and the concrete floors, shot off the rafters and the stained windows. That demand vibrated through her winery, polluted it. Would you look at me?" he said. She turned and looked, refusing to let him make her a coward in her own castle. He stepped out of the shadows, tall and lean in his dark clothes. His manager had snuck in and muttered urgently behind him. She raised her chin and didn't say a word. He took off his sunglasses. His manager went silent. For the first time in 10 years, she met those black eyes. "I'm sorry." Those dark, sparkling eyes moving over her face still had power. "You should be." Too sharp, too drawn, his face was still painfully beautiful. He revealed his dimple in a sad side smile. "You don't even know what I'm apologizing for." She was stone. She gave him nothing. His sleek black eyebrows quirked. "Why'd you let the guy talk to you like that?" "It's not your concern." He huffed a frustrated breath. "Well, I'm sorry about the song. I'm sorry about this whole, we're not discussing that." "God damn it, Sophia," Ace burst out. Henry came to her side. "Watch yourself." "How the fuck is this supposed to work?" Ace said, throwing up his big hands, his irritating tattoo flashing like contrails. "You won't look at me? You won't talk to me? I can't ask a single fucking question?" "You can ask questions," she said coolly. "They will be in your daily scripts." "Scripts? Sophia, between you and me?" Her stomach dropped as he looked at her with everything they once were, they once had. 10 years ago, she'd been overwhelmed and honored by the naked way he looked at her, soul-deep stares, unashamed and obvious. His open adoration had worked powerfully on a young girl desperate to be loved. "I know I fucked up over and over again," he said, and his voice, Dios mío, She'd forgotten how his low voice with just a touch of roughness had lured her. Just give me 5 minutes to apologize without emotion to Henry. 5 minutes? After what he'd done to her, he thought he only needed 5 minutes in an empty room to bring her to heel? How could she have ever loved this selfish, conceited, narcissistic man-child? How could she have let him back into her life? Sophia, I fucked up, he would moan from his bed when he was too hungover to cover his interning shift and needed her to cover it for him. I fucked up, he begged when he'd forgotten about their 1-month anniversary date at Fisherman's Wharf and played a gig in Santa Cruz. She'd wandered the pier for hours, certain she'd gotten the meeting spot wrong, holding 24 glittering I love you balloons. I fucked up, he pleaded when he'd wandered off with a female lead singer at a music festival. He'd cried against Sophia as he reeked of patchouli and swore they only talked managers. For 10 years, despite how she denied it, she'd been haunted by the ghost of Ace Challenger. Now he was here in the flesh, and she could effortlessly become spellbound once again by him. It was almost relieving to verify once again how craven and untrustworthy her needs were. Verdad, you fucked up, she said. Pobrecito. She used to make this poor thing come with her voice. She walked towards him, her heels echoing off her concrete floor. You fucked up thinking your help was needed here. She moved through pools of soft warehouse lighting. You fucked up believing your apologies were wanted. She inhaled the toasty char of barrels stamped with her name. You fucked up imagining my kingdom was a place that would give you welcome or rest or redemption. She stood directly in front of him. It had been a while since she'd worn 4-inch heels, but she had never been gladder for her ease in them. You won't talk to me or touch me or ask me a single question unless it's written in the script. Those are my rules and you will follow them. She let her eyes stroke over his arrested face, his tempting lips and nose, and that black hair she used to grip in her fingers and pull. Right now, everyone feels pity for you, the broken rock star who's come to find his spark in the arms of a party girl princess. She fisted his black t-shirt and pulled him down to her. Underneath the pomade and the aftershave and the artifice, she could still smell him, skin smelling of sun and salt. She pressed against his heat, foreign yet so familiar, so she could whisper in his ear. They've stopped wondering if you're a thief. I can remind them. I have proof that young son stole songs. He jerked, but she held him close in a tight grip. You'll stick to my rules or I'll ruin your life, just like you're trying to ruin mine. She bit his jaw, a mockery of the kiss he'd given her outside, before she pushed him away and turned on a heel. Aish will need a minute, she said as she returned to Henry and wound her arm through his. Let's join our guests. For a decade, she hated her memories of Ace Challenger. Today, she discovered that the essence of him still called to her as strongly as it did that fateful night 10 years ago. But for the first time, she was grateful for the broken-hearted reminiscences of a spurned little girl, and she was exultant about the box full of treasures she could never bring herself to throw away. So that's it. The first of the Hate Crush. It is available now in audiobook, ebook, paperback. You can check me out at angelinamlopez.com. And thanks so much for having me, Lady Jane.
Yay, that was so great. Thank you so much, Angelina. I love it. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. That was marvelous. And so gotta love, someone coming back into your life like that. Oh, it's so good. It's so loaded. Awesome. So thank you for that. And next up is a woman who I have known for many years and love very dearly. I met Farrah years back at a romance event in New Orleans, and so she is a South Louisiana native herself, and I sure love New Orleans. And I was familiar with her Holmes Brothers series, which is a great series, a long-running series, award-winning series, and that just recently wrapped up. So definitely, if you're one of the few people who doesn't know the Holmes Brothers series, get on that right now. And the premise of her latest novel, The Boyfriend Project, a fantastic book. Just right from the get-go, this book you just take one look at it and you want to indulge in the fun, fresh, contemporary romance. It's just nothing better. And I'm not the only one that thinks that. Oprah magazine, of all places, I mean, the queen, listed this book as one of her most anticipated reads of 2020. I couldn't agree more. It's a fantastic book. So without any further ado, my friend, and also a huge Broadway enthusiast, so kind of tying in our New York City connection here. Without any further ado, Farrah Rochon, everybody.
Thank you, Leanna. That is true. I'm always in New York, but this is the first time I get to read at Lady Jane from my office, so that's kind of funny. This is the Boyfriend Project, and it is a new, I'm calling it romantic women's fiction, because this book is just as much about the friendship that forms between these three women as it is about the romance. So let me get right into it. Why play by love's rules when you can make your own? Samaya Brooks never thought she would be that girl, but a live tweet of a horrific date just revealed the painful truth. She's been catfished by a three-timing jerk of a boyfriend. Suddenly, Samaya, along with his two other girlfriends, London and Taylor, have gone viral online. Now the three new besties are making a pact to spend the next 6 months investing in themselves. No men and no dating. For once, Samaya is putting herself first, and that includes finally developing the app she's always dreamed of creating, which is the exact moment she meets the deliciously sexy Daniel Collins at work. What are the chances? But is Daniel really boyfriend material, or is he maybe just a little too good to be true? And what I'm going to read for you is the scene where Samaya meets her two new besties. Just to set it up a bit, her sister Denise has just read the live tweet, and Samaya, from clues that are given, realized that this other girl that's on a date is actually on a date with her boyfriend. So here is just from the very first chapter of The Boyfriend Project. Don't get yourself arrested, Denise called from the condo's front door, and text me as soon as you get back. Samaya stuck a hand in the air and waved an answer as she marched down the hallway and into the elevator. She concentrated on taking deep, calming, cleansing breaths as she traveled from the 21st floor to the lobby without interruption. She exited her building and started down the Oasis Street, arriving at the restaurant in minutes. She spotted Craig's clean-shaven head at a table in clear view of the entrance. Couldn't the bastard at least try to be discreet? This place was steps from her home. She could have strolled by at any time. Samaya told the hostess she was meeting friends. The young girl didn't even question her as she invited her in. She made a beeline for Craig's table, cycling up to him with a bright smile. She infused as much cheer into her voice as she could muster and said, "Well, I guess your work meeting got canceled, huh? Lucky you." He jumped at the sound of her voice and looked up at her over his shoulder, his eyes wide with an "oh shit, I'm caught" look. She hit him with a super sweet grin. "That's right, bitch, you're caught." Samaya looked to the woman sitting across from him. The red globe over the light fixture that hung above the table cast a rosy glow across her light brown skin. Her reddish brown hair was done up in thick box braids, and she had cheekbones Samaya would sell her soul for. "Hi," she extended her hand with a genuine smile. "I'm Samaya." "Taylor," the woman answered with matching politeness. "I thought for a minute that you were London." Samaya nodded toward the phone sitting next to a half-eaten plate of sushi. "Is London the other woman on Twitter?" Taylor nodded. Amusement glittered in her light brown eyes. "Twitter?" Craig asked, his sweat-slicked forehead scrunching up in confusion. "What's going on here?" "Your lies are catching up to you," Samaya answered. She nodded at Taylor, who propped her elbow on the table and now perched her chin on her closed fist. "Let me take a stab at this. He invited you to go to a club after dinner, but just gave you a lame-ass excuse for why he needs to cut the night short." "His mom is sick," Taylor said, biting her lip to contain the smile turning up the corners of her mouth. "Ah, yes, I've heard about his sick mama. Actually, I'm his sick mama. He's supposed to meet me in another half hour." She tilted her head to the side. I wonder who played the sick mother when he fed me that line on our first date. That would be me. The three women turned as a statuesque woman with rich brown skin, a head full of enviable, coily natural hair, and shoes to die for, approached the table. At least I think it was me. Hello all, I'm London. She plumped her hands on her hips, her wry smile directed at Craig. The internet is amazing, isn't it? One of my fellow Walking Dead tweets retweeted this hilarious first date from hell into my timeline. Imagine my surprise when it turns out to be the exact first date I had, down to the volcano sushi roll. You have to admit, that sushi roll is amazing, Samaya said. Incredible, London agreed. Taylor pushed her plate toward them. It's the best. Dig in, ladies. They'd started to garner attention from the other tables. A number of people were openly staring, and the hum of whispers filtered in various corners of the restaurant. I haven't had dinner yet, London said. Should we order another? Okay, now wait a minute. Craig put both hands up. Let me shut up, Samaya cut him off. You don't get to speak here. Come on, Sammy. Shut up. If he knew how close she was to elbowing him in the throat, he would walk out of here without saying a word. The grip she had on her rage was tenuous at best. And don't call me that stupid nickname. My name is Samaya. That's a beautiful name, London said around a mouthful of sushi. Yes, it is. So is that jacket, Taylor added. I love the way it cinches a bit at the waist instead of being all boxy. That's the reason I bought it, Samaya answered, looking down at her jacket. Hey, are you ladies up to listening to some blues music? My date said she said with an eye roll, was supposed to take me to that new club on 6th. I'd hate for this makeup to go to waste. Oh, I don't blame you, London said. That smoky eye deserves to be seen. I end up looking like a raccoon whenever I try for that look. I can give you some tips, Samaya offered. It's all in the primer you use. All right, enough of this. Craig pushed his chair away from the table and stood. I can explain. Samaya whirled on him. Read the room, Craig. Read the fucking room, she snarled, unable to pull off the blasé pretense a second longer. She was hurt and upset and ready to lay into this asshole. You're caught, you lying piece of dog shit. Your stupid little game is over. The other patrons weren't even bothering to hide their interest now. Even the waitstaff had stopped what they were doing. All eyes were on them, but Samaya was too incensed to care about the scene they were causing. I don't know how many other women fell for it, but it's over. She jabbed her finger against his chest. Lose my number. If you try to contact me again, I'm calling the police. Same goes for me, London said as she pulled Craig's chair to the side of the table to get closer to Taylor's sushi roll. Taylor passed her a new pair of chopsticks from the container in the center of the table and slid the soy sauce over. The number I gave you was a fake, so I don't have to worry about hearing from you again, Taylor said. She tossed her napkin on the table and joined Samaya. Folding her arms across her chest, she said, make sure you fill up your bins before you return it to the car rental place. They charge an arm and a leg if you bring it back on empty. His eyes widened. How do you know? Samaya had to refrain from punching him in the gut. You're pathetic, she spat. Can I get a to-go box, London called? Also, add another volcano roll to the order. He'll pay for it. His cheap ass still owes me from our last date. Oh, let me guess, Samaya said. He forgot his wallet at work? And the Apple Pay on his phone was acting up, London said with a nod. He isn't very creative, is he? Two women at a nearby table laughed out loud. One of them held up a phone to snap a picture. Great. Samaya turned back to Craig. You are a horrible person, and your jokes are corny. I wish nothing but the worst for you. A waiter arrived with a black paper bag and handed it to London. She stood and motioned for Samaya and Taylor to walk ahead of her. Don't I get a chance to explain, Craig called. No, the three women said in unison as they marched out of the restaurant without a backward glance. And that's the start of the Boyfriend Project.
That was amazing. you had me at smoky eye. I have yet to perfect the smoky eye, so I live in deep respect of anyone who can do that. That was fantastic. Congratulations again on your book. And your cake on Twitter made my mouth water. That was an amazing. So now it's my my honor and privilege and just plain fun to introduce my beloved Leanna Renee, obviously co-founder of Lady Jane Salon. Leanna was one of the first people I met when I first moved to New York 12 years ago. And back then, Leanna had her first novella coming out with a publisher. It was her what would become her Dark Nest space opera saga. And since then, in the 12 years and counting, she has evolved an incredible body of work. She has really kind of reinvigorated, I think, the neo-Victorian and gaslight fantasy genre with her books set in London and, of course, now in New York. We have her, of course, her Strangely Beautiful series, her Magic Most Foul series, her new series, or relatively new series for Kensington, the last book of which she'll be reading today, Summoning of Souls, is incredible. It received a very justified starred review from publishers. Again, it's the finale to the series. I hear rumors that Eve and Detective Horowitz may actually do the deed in this one. We'll have to wait for the book to drop this Tuesday, July 21st, to see if that's true. But I do have good inside information that they at least do kiss. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Leanna to read her beloved latest book, Summoning of Souls.
Thank you, Hope. So, A Summoning of Souls. It is the finale in my Spectral City trilogy, and no, they are good, well-behaved Victorians, and there is no deed being done until there would be vows in the future. We've gotten 2.5 books just to get to the first kiss, so this is a slow burn romance. So for those of you who love the slow burn, I'm bringing you a very super slow burn. So for the past book and a half, all through Sanctuary of Spirits, book 2, there were these near misses where they nearly kissed and they didn't. And so we're going into book 3 with my hero and heroine in extreme tension with one another. So Eve Whitby, my heroine, she's 19 years old and she runs the Ghost Precinct. She is a psychic, and she and her favorite friendly ghosts run the Ghost Precinct, and they help New York solve weird crime and strange crime otherwise unsolved by the city. So Eve and her fellow female psychics, it's a girl gang of fellow psychics and their favorite friendly ghosts, are in the midst of an ongoing sequence of investigations, and one of their allies in this is the very dashing Detective Jacob Horowitz. And right from the start, the two of them were investigating common leads to their various cases together, and the spark there was just unmistakable. Writing these characters has been one of the great joys of my life. I really, really love these two. So I'm going to give you just a hint of gearing up to that epic scene, and I will say it is an epic first kiss scene, but we're not going to get to that. You're going to have to buy the book for that one. Sorry. We are all about teasing here at Lady Jane's. So this is 1899 Manhattan, and there's just been an incident that has rattled both the detective and Eve. And in this, we see Jacob trying to kind of reassure. His steadfast nature is evident here as he's trying to reassure Eve of what's to come and that he'll be there with her. Intentional or not, our enemy is going to keep coming at us one way or another, Horowitz said, without dread or fear, just simple fact. And we're going to have to keep going. She tried not to envision a barrage of dangers anytime they went anywhere, being on guard for spectral sniping. It was no way to live. They had to gain grounds for a rest. They sat on a bench at the top of the train trestle. The detective watched her, not pressing her for a reply, but patiently expectant. I trust my allies, Eve said, trying to match his fearless tone, balling her fists so he couldn't see her shaking. the tremors a result of anger as much as close brushes with danger. She didn't want to be rattled anymore. She was a woman of strength and purpose, and she was being eroded by a predator. I have to stay connected to strength. I don't think you're ever disconnected from it, Eve. The detective replied, you're the strongest woman I've ever met. Even if you don't always think so, that too is strength. Vulnerability is necessary to learn, truly feel, and be human. It's underrated as a tool for growth. If you find yourself doubting, it's a chance to rebuild confidence from an even sturdier, wiser foundation. Eve slowly moved her hands to close over his folded ones atop his knee. She didn't mind the passers-by of all kinds. No one paid them any attention, and she was slowly becoming less self-conscious. You are so wise and so dear, she murmured, looking at their enfolded hands. When are you most at peace? He asked softly. Because you should have some. You've been chasing clues ever since I've met you. It's important to take moments to relax and enjoy life. Eve kept staring at their hands. Well, when do you? Oh no, Jacob laughed. No more countering me with questions so you're never called account to answer your own. That's one of your most common tricks, and I'm wise to it now. But I want to know, Eve said sheepishly, smiling and leaning towards him, their heads only a few inches apart. I want to know so I can perhaps help bring peace to you too. Green spaces. I walk through every park this city has created, and I read. There's always music. I love a good symphony at Carnegie Hall. Oh yes, Eve said excitedly. I adore concerts, but I can't remember the last one I attended. Also, a whole day lounging in Central Park. I haven't had one of those in ages. Then these are promises. He slowly turned his hands below hers, opening them so that her hands slid against his palms, and he folded his fingers over hers, his thumbs gently caressing the backs of her hands. Eve shivered at the exquisite sensation. What else kindles your fires of happiness? One of the reasons there are so many celebrations in Jewish tradition is that we know that to keep a spirit strong against persecution, there must be joy. Joy is undefeatable. His words hit her deeply. The train screamed into the station and they boarded, taking to the least crowded section of the interior, a little corner with a bench for two. What else? Jacob insisted. Speak to me of joy. Dinner with my team, she said as they sat, my girls, my family, savoring Antonia's delicious cooking, sharing favorite heroes and heroines in books. Eve blushed. And, clasping her hands, she bit her lip, forcing herself to look at him. Being with you kindles such joy. I've never felt anything like it. He beamed a gorgeous smile. Then that settles it. Tomorrow, Eve Whitby, I'm taking you for a day in the park and a concert at night. You're going to give me the whole day. Our case will unfold as it must. None of the offices we must make inquiries in will be open tomorrow, and no warrant to go into our enemy's mansion can possibly have come through. Leaning closer, his voice was a gentle caress. Please, Eve, if I have the distinct honor of making you happy. He released her hands and lifted his own so that they hovered over each of her cheeks. His eyes, brown gems ringed in blue, glistened, searching hers. His voice matched by the gentle touch of one palm cupping her cheek, then the other, his thumbs grazing her temples, then the edge of her ears. Then I must do my part to strengthen and steel you against anything that would wish to harm you. I won't let anything get through me. Let us be joyous together. Overcome by this promise, Eve couldn't help herself. She had to do something intimate, unmistakable. She turned her face in his hands and kissed the inside of his palm. Jacob breathed in sharply. More tomorrow, he said, his words strained as she opened her lips and breathed against his palm. When I have you all to myself, when we make a point of this, not just a collision of pent-up notions. Thank you. And that next day in the park, I'm just gonna say, is epic. So A Summoning of Souls, now available wherever books are sold, in digital and trade paperback. Thank you, friends. I love these babies. I hope you will love them too. So without any further ado, here's another wonderful lady who's been with the Salon for a long time. We feel very proud. We have watched her soar, and I remember distinctly the very first day that Alexis Daria said to a group of folks the book that she was working on. This ended up being Take the Lead, and we all just kind of gasped at the idea of a Dancing with the Stars romance novel, and we were all like, oh, this is the thing, and it has been the thing. And Take the Lead danced right to a Rita Award, one of the highest awards in romance. And similarly with her latest, You Had Me at Hola, it's one of those great premises. It's just like, oh, this book. And we're just so thrilled. Much like Farrah's Boyfriend Project, all of our guests today have had a lot of really great press for these books, and lots of great accolades, and lots of most anticipated lists. And that's definitely the case for You Had Me at Hola, and I can't wait to hear from it. So without any further ado, Alexis, take it away, my friend, Alexis Daria, everybody. You are unmuted. There you go.
There we go.
Yay.
Thank you, Leanna. Oh man, I could listen to you read forever.
I love you.
And yeah, I have been going to Lady Jane's Salon since I think the 3rd anniversary party. Where are we at now? I don't know, a lot.
We're at 11 years now.
You're 12.
11.
You're 12 coming up.
That's
Oh my
coming
goodness.
up.
Yeah, it's been a while. So thank you both, Leanna and Hope, for keeping the salon going, especially in these times. Doing this is really making me miss the city. Even though I live here, I'm just in my apartment all the time. So it's, I'm just remembering like going to Madame X or Central Park, things like that, Broadway shows, like, oh gosh. But anyway, I'm reading today from You Had Me at Hola, which comes out on August 4th, which will be the day after you all get to see this. I'm going to read Ashton and Jasmine's meet cute scene. Jasmine is a soap opera actress, and Ashton is a telenovela star. And the two of them have been cast together on the remake of a telenovela called Carmen in Charge, which I made up, it's not a real one. And Ashton is a last-minute replacement, so they actually have not met yet, which is somewhat unusual. So they're both a little bit nervous, and they're going in for their first table read together. And Ashton is in the green room making himself a cup of coffee and trying to give himself a pep talk because he's very worried about the state of his career. He was killed off of his last show, so he's like very worried. With his cup filled with sweet caffeinated nectar, Ashton took his time adding more sugar and cream. Once he was done, he stepped back from the table, intending to find his new co-star to introduce himself. Instead, his heel landed on something that wasn't linoleum, and someone behind him let out a high-pitched yelp. Ashton spun in surprise, colliding with a body. There was a splash, followed by a clattering sound. The smell of coffee intensified, and he stared in horror at the sight of a woman wearing a white blouse and soft pink slacks, now splattered and dripping with foamy brown stains. Ice cubes scattered on the tiles around her stiletto-clad feet. It would have been bad enough to spill coffee on anyone during his first day on the job, but this was not just any woman. It was Jasmine Lynn, his new co-star. She was gorgeous. Her golden skin glowed against the white of her wet shirt, now clinging to her torso and breasts, but at the moment she looked like she wanted to murder him. Her dark brows set in a fierce scowl, and her full lips parted over clenched teeth. The nerves he'd battled all morning took over and came out of his mouth. Hola. Trying for a joke, he gestured at the half-empty cup still in her hand. Supongo que no te ibas a beber eso. When she just stared at him, mouth hanging open, his stomach sank. So much for getting off on the right foot. The combination of ice-cold coffee, unexpected Spanish, and the full force of Ashton's famously handsome face stole Jasmine's voice. Her silk shirt clung to her chilled skin thanks to the faulty lid that had leaped off her cold brew the second Ashton had backed into her. Ashton. She drank him in as if he were a steaming cappuccino on a cold day, her body warming from the inside despite the inadvertent ice bath. Dark curly hair, the shadow of a beard, tan skin, and sexy dark brown eyes. He seemed even taller in person and more magnetic, like a behemoth of a planet tugging her into his orbit. She felt drawn to him in a way that made no sense, but that was the magic of TV. Made you feel close to people you'd never met. And here he was, in the flesh, and somehow even hotter in person. In an effort to ignore the way her heart pounded at his nearness, she focused on what he just said. Since she didn't want to admit just yet that she wasn't fluent in Spanish, Jasmine picked over the words, replaying them in her mind and translating each one. Hola. Those first deep, fluid syllables of his greeting had sent a thrill through her. Supongo que no te ibas a beber eso. I guess you weren't going to drink that. Wait, was he being sarcastic or serious? Shit, she couldn't tell. Jasmine narrowed her eyes at him just in case. Was that meant to be a joke? His eyebrows twitched, like maybe he was surprised she'd answered in English. She was used to that. Oh, yes, a joke, but not a funny joke, I see. He grabbed a handful of paper towels from the table and thrust them at her. I'm Ashton Suarez. I know who you are. My grandmother absolutely adores you. God, had she really just said that? Jasmine patted her torso with the napkins, which did little to sop up the dark coffee soaking her shirt. Even worse, although it was hard to tell from her vantage point, she was pretty sure the white silk had become see-through. She tried to pull on the wet fabric so it didn't cling to her like a second skin, but it just slapped back onto her boobs. Awesome. I'll take care of the dry cleaning. His expression was contrite, and the worry in his eyes made him look younger, more boyish. Don't bother, they're probably ruined. It came out bitchier than she'd meant it to, so she added, anyway, they're just clothes. Just clothes she'd spent 2 hours selecting with her cousin's help. She bit back a sigh. She didn't want to make him feel bad, but fuck, this was inconvenient. I'm sorry for stepping on you, Ashton said in a rush, as if belatedly realizing he hadn't yet apologized. And bumping into you. And spilling your coffee. She shrugged and sent him a rueful smile. It was an accident, but I could have used the caffeine. He held up his own cup. Do you want mine? Had he drunk from it yet? Didn't matter. She'd soon be locking lips with this guy, and it would be rude to turn down his olive branch. Sure, thanks. Their fingers brushed, and she sucked in a trembling breath. To cover the blush rising in her cheeks, she quickly brought the cup to her lips, took a sip, and gagged. Geez, how much sugar did you put in here? He grimaced. A lot? Jasmine shoved the cup back at him. Thanks, but I think I've had enough coffee for today. She gestured at her shirt, and his eyes followed her movement. Damn it, she'd drawn his attention back to the now sheer blouse clinging to her breasts. Just brilliant. With what seemed like great effort, Ashton dragged his gaze away from her chest and back to her eyes. His expression was bland, but she caught the ripple of his throat as he swallowed. Her skin grew hot with embarrassment and, damn it, attraction. This was so not how she'd imagined their first meeting unfolding. She had to get out of here. Jasmine waved a hand toward the green room door. I'm gonna go change. Into what? She had no idea. He nodded. Claro. Bye. Jasmine hurried out and hobbled to the bathroom. So Jasmine, at this point, flags down an assistant, gives her all the money in her purse, and is like, please just like buy me an outfit in the next 5 minutes. And what she brings back from a souvenir shop is not great. Between the child-sized shirt, which says NYC really big across the front, the gym shorts, the black heels, and her sparkly gold jewelry, she was certainly rocking some kind of look, albeit not one that said leading lady. More like Sporty Spice on a hot date. Maybe coffee splattered wouldn't have been so bad, but she didn't have time to dry everything with the bathroom's weak-ass hand dryer. Then she remembered her grandmother's adage. If you're not wearing lipstick and earrings, you might as well be naked. After freshening up her lipstick, Jasmine snapped a photo of her reflection, then sent it to Ava and Michelle in their Primas of Power group text. Time to call in the hype squad. Ava and Michelle are her best cousins. Ava answered first. Ava, what are you wearing? Michelle's reply came a second later. Michelle, hot. Jasmine, I had a run-in with an iced coffee. Quick, tell me I'm still pretty. Michelle replied with an animated gif of Natalie Wood in West Side Story, twirling and saying, I feel pretty. Ava added one of Barbara Streisand and Funny Girl saying, hello, gorgeous. It would have to do. Jasmine tossed her hair, squared her shoulders, and cocked a hand on her hip. Make hefa moves, remember? She told her reflection. Inside, she didn't believe that for a second. But she was a good enough actress that her embarrassment didn't show on her face. Then she exited the bathroom and strutted into that table read like she was on a motherfucking runway. So that section that I just read is actually available to pre-orders as a webtoon. I've had an artist illustrate that whole part, and it is so cute. Every time she sends me an update, I'm just so happy with it. So if you pre-order the book and then enter your proof of purchase or proof of library request by August 10th, all of the links are on my website, alexisdaria.com, or on my Twitter @alexisdaria. You will be able to get access to the webtoon that shows Ashton and Jasmine's meet cute. So this is You Had Me at Hola, and it comes out August 4th.
Oh, that's so delightful. Oh my gosh, that's so great. You guys, thank you all of you for spectacular readings. I'm so grateful. I Hope and we love doing the salon. We can't wait to be with all of you in person, but until then, we're gonna play it safe. Just a reminder to everybody, if you can, one second here, I'm gonna try to get my, let's see here, trying to get back onto the spotlight. So yeah, one more time for everybody. Please do check out WIN NYC. WinNYC.org is WINNYC.org is our house charity. Obviously, we're not able to collect the kind of money for them in person that we love to. So please try to hop on there, donate on our collective behalf. That's great. Also, if you go to madamx.com, you'll find the link to their relief. Their relief fund, it's a GoFundMe. So head to madamx.com and throw our beloved bartender Alex some love. Follow us on Lady Jane's Salon on Twitter. We're very active there, so please join us there. And we will see you again in October, probably still virtually. We're not entirely sure, but follow us for updates. And we can't wait to continue to be with you, whether virtually or in person. Thank you again to our amazing guests today. Hope, final thoughts?
No, just these readings are fabulous. We really appreciate the support. You know, as Leanna said, we're not able to collect our $5 admission. So even if you can just go to the WIN site and donate even just $5, or what would be the price of a drink at Madam X, $5 or $6 to their staff relief fund, we would so appreciate it. And I know the WIN families and also the Madam X family will appreciate it too. Thank you. Can't wait to see you in person at some point. But enjoy this program. Bye now.
All right, bye everybody. Thank you so much. See you next time.
Bye.